guys, it's Lexus Amanda from Blacklisted Me.
Hey bitches. Okay, so Lexus Amanda haters do not interact. Literally don't even bother. Because one thing about me, Lexus Amanda is somebody that I will always defend. I don't care, you know. And I feel like we are in a state of the world where we can look back at things and be like, we treated these people kind of bad. And Lexus Amanda is one of those people. I mean, I didn't because I was always defending her on like Tumblr and I'd listen to her music and I was in the know of what was going on with her life. So yeah, I'm like the number one Lexus Amanda defender. You just have to know that about me. And let's get into the deep dive. Actually, before we get into the deep dive, here's just a little intro that I wrote. I have been the number one Lexus Amanda defender since 2010, so this deep dive is actually really special to me. I'm so glad we're in a place where people realize how cool she's always been. She's cool, but it's also like, it's coming from a place where it's like, yeah, maybe we did treat her like shit, just because we were young and jealous. And I'm excluding myself from this narrative because I'm telling you, I never, ever, ever hated on her, and I'm very proud of that. You know what makes me really happy? People make edits of her on TikTok. If TikTok existed when I was 15, all I ever did was reblog pictures of her and like listen to her music, but like I would have been so obsessed with the people that are making edits of her because even now in 2025 I'm like, I love the edits. I love that Lexus Amanda is getting respect instead of like, she's a slut. All information from this deep dive was compiled using information from Lexus's podcast, This Might Be Toxic, TikToks she's made, and just being a fan since 2010. I hope you enjoy. Alright, now on to the actual deep dive. Enough about how much I literally love Lexus Amanda. Okay. So, Alexis Amanda Joyce was born on July 26, 1990. She grew up in Simi Valley, California. She has 2 brothers, and I want to say she's the oldest of the 3 kids. Her home life was kind of complicated. Her dad was on drugs during her early childhood, and her parents would eventually divorce when Lexus was 12. After they divorced, her entire aesthetic changed. For context, at one point in her life, she had blonde hair, and people said she looked like an Olsen twin. She went to a Catholic school and was a cheerleader in like 8th grade. Okay? So that's no more. Her parents divorced, she got emo, she said, that's enough of that. But me personally, I feel like her emo aesthetic was gonna happen regardless, just because it's like, she's growing up in California, it's the mid-2000s, things are changing, you know? Alexis Joyce was very close to creating Lexus Amanda. I believe she started her MySpace when she was 16. Fun fact, she started going by Lexus because she hated people calling her Lexi. Extra fun fact, I know that because I asked her that on her Formspring. LOL, remember Formspring? When she was 18, she started dating Max Green from Escape the Fate. Although this relationship would only last a year, on and off, this was probably the most highly publicized relationship she had. This is the one that started everything, basically. People hated her because she was dating the band guy she liked. People would throw shit at her at Warped Tour. It was just not a good time in her life. By the time she was 21, she was struggling heavily with alcohol. After she broke up with Max, she would go on to date Ronnie Radke. There were pics of her and Andy Biersack hanging out, but she confirmed on TikTok that they never dated. Here's a random connection for you. In her early 20s, Lexus was friends with Scout Taylor Compton, who famously dated Andy Biersack and was the inspiration behind The Mortician's Daughter. They would hang out at Angels and Kings, LA. Rest in peace to that establishment. It closed, and I was so sad about it because I was like, I literally remember being delusional. Being a delusional teenager and being like, I can't wait to go to LA. And oh my god, shout out to Angels and Kings, LA, because that establishment made me so delusional. Just the pictures that I would see on Tumblr of all the people that I liked taking pictures against the backdrop, and there was like a mugshot involved. I thought it was the coolest thing. As for Lexus's actual career, she obtained her cosmetology license and worked at Paul Mitchell. In 2010, she was supposed to start a band called Rose Red with Scout Taylor Compton and Lauren Summers, and I think it was some other girl, but I can't remember the other girl. All I remember is it was her, Scout, and Lauren. Nothing ever happened with this idea, but they did have one photo shoot. In 2011, Lexus formed a music group called Blacklisted Me. The name was famously a play on the way everyone always saw her. Blacklisted just for hanging out with people in the emo scene. Fun fact, the original band name was White Widow, but they had to change it because there was already a band with that name. Me personally, I'm glad they changed the name, because Blacklisted Me just sounds better, and I like the whole origin story of Lexus being like, yeah, everyone blacklisted me because they thought I was a hoe, and I'm like, I love that. Alright, we're getting into a portion of the deep dive where I have to do a disclaimer. Do not send any hate to Lexus Amanda or Sammy Jaden. Don't do it. Or Max Green, or like anyone I mentioned here, please, because I'll feel bad. The two of them, Sammy and Lexus, they're okay. I don't know if they're friends. I don't know the inner workings of their relationship. All I know is that here it says the two of them are okay, so I'm inclined to believe that they're fine now. There's no drama in 2025. There was drama in 2010 that I'm gonna catch you up on, but yeah. Don't send any hate to anybody, please. So Lexus Amanda and Sammy Jaden are Blacklisted Me. There was this other girl named Tracy before Sammy, but she dipped. So yeah. The first single, Reprobate Romance, is about Ronnie Radke. And I just found that out on TikTok. So thank you to Lexus for dropping that little piece of information. Because the guy in the video was supposed to resemble him. The alliteration and the title was supposed to be a nod to his name, Ronnie Radke. And yeah. Now, here's where we get into the drama. Allegedly, Sammy would eventually leave the group because she was dating Max Green, Lexus' ex. After Sammy left, things started to take a turn. No shade to religious people, no shade to Lexus Amanda, but what the hell was like 2012-ish? I'll explain it if you weren't there, but if you remember Lexus Amanda in 2012, what was that? That was crazy. So after Sammy leaves, Lexus married Nick Matthews from Get Scared. They turned Blacklisted Me into a duo of just Lexus and Nick. There's a random Christian song. They do the famous Brian Stars interview at Lexus's dad's house. I think about that interview way too much. Lexus and Nick are only married for 1 year, but I'm telling you, that was the wildest year of my life to just see all of this happen in real time on the internet. It was crazy. Lexus eventually turns Blacklisted Me into a solo project and releases singles like Emerald Eyes, Sunset Boulevard, and Save Me For Myself. Personally, I love the solo era. The solo era was such a good era when you compare it to the era where she was trying to make all that weird shit happen with Nick from Get Scared. Now, I don't want to talk too much shit about him because, I don't know. But I think he's having, like, trouble. So I really don't want to talk shit about him. Because last I heard, he was, like, begging on Twitter for, like, money. So yeah, we're just not going to touch that situation. I hope Nick Matthews is doing well. At some point, after that whole Nick era of her life, she starts dating this rich dude named, I never knew how to say his name, I'm not gonna lie, Pasquale Rotella, who is the ex-husband of Holly Madison. Anyway, that guy owned, or still owns, I guess, Insomnia Events. It's like a rave company or something. I don't really know. I don't know anything about raves. But yeah, they eventually break up. So yeah, that's a basic rundown of Lexus Amanda's life. And now here's the 2025 update. Lexus is the brand manager and creative lead for Volta Beauty. She recently made my 15-year-old self very happy by finally giving us a makeup tutorial for her iconic makeup look from 2011. She is also the co-host of a podcast called This Might Be Toxic, where she drops random lore about herself, but also answers like random questions. Like, she literally just drops the most random lore, like about the time she got arrested when she was 19, how she feels about sex on the first date, age gaps, virginity. It's just a bunch of random stuff that she yaps about on that podcast. So if you just want to hear Lexus drop some random lore, I suggest listening to the podcast This Might Be Toxic. But as always, I just hope she's living her best life, and thank you, Lexus, for being an iconic part of my teen years. You were always that bitch. Shout out to you for dealing with the haters, because you had a lot, and I always thought you were cool. And I still do, so.